Bizarre Brain Comics. Welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This time I want to talk a little bit about this book right here. This is Gold Keys, Boris Karloff, Tales of Mystery, number 26 from 1969. And I've featured Boris Karloff magazines before, mostly the talk about the Gold Key Mystery Comics Digest. But I did Boris Karloff during the Halloween Fest, and we talked about a little bit about Boris Karloff himself. Who's the actor? You know him, the actor who played the original Frankenstein's monster from the Universal horror movies from the 30s. He did a great job, and he became so widely identified with other horror / monster movies. Even appeared in some of the other Universal monster movies featuring Frankenstein's monster, and he didn't even play the monster. As well as, just a whole host of things. But he passed away in February of 1969, and this issue came out just after his death. And of course, his name and likeness were licensed for this title. And that's about all that he had, all the input he had to it. So, and the story we're going to be looking at. No credits. I have no idea who wrote it. But as far as I can tell, it was drawn by Paul Norris. And that was, like I said, 69. And, of course, Paul Norris, he was a co-creator of Aquaman back in the 40s. And he did some comic strips and the like. And this is being 69. This would have been right about the time, or shortly after the time that Russ Manning left Gold Key Comics to do the Tarzan comic strip, and Paul Norris took over the art duties on Magnus Robot Fighter, which had been previously done by Russ Manning. And then right about this time, he also took over the art duties on Gold Key's version of Tarzan. And intentionally or not, I don't know, he was, to a certain extent, was imitating Russ Manning's style. And that kind of comes through at some points in the art in this story. And you got to look at this cover painting. This is a great cover painting. I mean, that's what got my attention. This guy transforming into this horrid monster. And it says, he discovered who the monster of the launch pad was. Himself. And that's a spoiler, really. And you can see this great painting with this rocket being launched. And it looks like a Titan II with a fantasized version of a Mercury space capsule on top. And it looks, I just love that painting. So let's take a look inside. But before we take a look inside that book, I want to remind you that this is your opportunity, if you so desire, to get some custom artwork done by me, featuring your favorite comic book, comic strip character, Star Trek, Star Wars, things like that, for a reasonable price. An original piece of artwork, one of a kind, just for you. And if you want to take advantage of that, let's be on an 8-inch by 5-inch card like this, be black and white or full color, at a reasonable price. Contact me through the comments. Leave a comment with your name, email address, or if you prefer, snail mail address, or contact me here at my email address. You can see my version of Boris Karloff right there. And now back to the book. Yeah, that was a great cover painting. I know that artist who did the cover painting. I cannot think of his name, but I guess it doesn't matter at this moment. He did so many wonderful cover paintings for Gold Key, from the mystery titles, various adventure stuff, Trucks and of Stone. He did the cover painting for their King Kong adaptation. I can see King Kong right there, and which can be yours if you so desire. And a lot of Star Trek and Tarzan covers. So take a little look inside here. We're just going to look at the one story, but this is, of course, is an anthology, and it has 3 stories in it. Here's one. Now this artist, again, I can't remember this guy's name. This is he did a lot of these things, and he was the first artist on the Gold Key Star Trek comic. Here's a monster thing. Oh, I remember reading that one from the Digest comics. Same thing goes for this one. Different artist. Looks kind of like Leonard Nimoy there in that shot. And another little critter. Advertising. And here we go. This is the story I was going to look at. The Monster Within. There, a different monster. He's smashing out of Dr. Carson's lab. Bam said, "Observe the creature well, my friends, for it is unlike any monster your mind could possibly conceive. And at this moment, it is on a rampage at Space Test Site 5, seeking vengeance upon those who spawned it." Yeah, and here we see this guy here. You might be able to see what I say that looks a little like some Russ Manning look in Paul Norris's artwork here, because here you see the scientist working late. Here's something, goes out to sea, and here is this monster smashing up a rocket. Looks like a stylized version of a V2 rocket. It's all smashed up, and he calls for the security. The monster is gone. So what happened? He described it as monster. That's crazy. See this, and this face right here really has a strong Russ Manning look to it, even though it still has a Paul Norris look to it. And he just kind of poo-poos it, says there was something, must have been struck by lightning, and and your imagination was going. Well, the next day they're doing some testing on some equipment, and this machine goes haywire. That's Dr. Carson. He's the one there with the goatee, and the one who poo-pooed the monster stuff. And this test didn't go right. I'll have to work on some more. And then they doing another test on some other piece of equipment. It kind of goes haywire. Oh, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then they work on this this flight of this one. Looks like a flying saucer right out of one of the flying saucer books. But that one is more successful. It's still, not perfect, but it's more successful. Now he's got to get to his lab because he is working on a faster than light means of travel. And then Boris pokes in and said, "So, So do we, Doctor. But I can assure you, Carson will be doing very little work on his engine this day, and for a very ominous reason, as you shall see." And there, later in the day or the evening, and something is going on at the launch site. See this huge, humongous shadow there, and then boom, there's this really odd-looking furry beast with these huge mallet-like hands, smashes through the corrugated steel side of a hangar, smashes through, and then while their guards see him, they start shooting, and it's like, oh, he's just absorbing the bullets. Nothing happens, and the thing attacks the guards. While the guard hits him, one guard hits him, and it distracts him. He tosses the guards away. They're just slightly injured, and then the monster disappears. And damage was otherwise minimal. And Dr. Carson is on the scene with with the security and says, "Oh, it was another monster, but it doesn't match your description of the monster. It's a completely different one, but it did some damage here to this equipment. Oh, here's some hair from the monster. I'll take that and have it analyzed." Meanwhile, they're going to really beef up the security on the place. How does it get here? Where's it coming? And Dr. Carson says, "Well, perhaps it's some kind of alien. These are alien monsters. We're getting too close, and someone's trying to, from out there, is trying to stop us." And then the doctor who he had poo-pooed earlier says, "That's stupid." And and the guards are going around there, and Dr. Carson's going back to his lab, and he finds his lab coat, and it's all torn to shreds. Oh, what the heck? I don't remember. What the heck? And he finds some hairs in the lab coat, and they perfectly match the hairs that he found before. Here's another. This has a very Russ Manning look influenced on that face, but that hand, that is a Paul Norris hand. So there's some really great work there in this whole story, visual storytelling, the characterization, and it just has a really slick, very professional quality all around to his artwork. Well, it's not as dynamic as a lot of other artists might be. It in some cases it's superior in this visual storytelling. He compares the hairs, and then he goes, "Oh, what's going on? Oh, it can't be. No, all the tests. Something must have happened to me during all these tests and the construction of this thing. Something is causing me to transform into this monster. No, it can't be." So he locks himself in his office and has maintenance bring in bars, puts bars on the windows and stuff, and then lock him up in here. Of course, he doesn't tell why. He says, the experiment I'm conducting here is vital. It must have top security protection. Well, it's not to lock other people out. It's to lock him in while he continues working on his thing. I've got to hurry up. I'm almost there. I've got to complete this. Oh, what's happening? My arm is twitching. My hand is twitching. It's out of control. No. And here he is. Oh, beginning to transform. Here we got it. Transformation scene. Oh, it comes to this big froggy-like monster. Fish lips. Looks like it could be a gill man of some kind. But rips out of his clothing and smashes around, crashes out, and those bars are nothing. He just can't get them wide enough. He just smashes right through the side of the building, taking those bars with him. And then there's security right there on the way. They had brought in a big artillery piece because the bullets didn't work against the other monster. Even though they're still shooting at it, racing around, gets to this tower, and when it climbs to the top, boom! They hit him with the artillery piece and that explosive shell, and then he falls off the tower, and tumbles, and he transforms back into the other, as he falls, into the other monsters that had attacked the place, and there he is laying dead as he on the ground from that fall, from the exploding shell, and transforming back into Dr. Carson. Dr. Carson, his tests, they did this to him. What a loss, a complete waste. Maybe not. Maybe he proved to us that space travel was never meant to be. Poor Dr. Carson. He pushed his body past human limits and discovered the inhuman beast that lurks beyond. Yes. And that is the last of that issue of Boris Karloff, Tales of Mystery, for that story. I really liked that story. Yeah, I like all of them. Because Boris Karloff was one of my favorite Gold Key mystery titles. And as I said before, I was first introduced to Boris Karloff through this comic. I had no idea who he was until some of the adult, when I was a kid, one of the adults mentioned that and told me who he was. Because at that time I had never seen Frankenstein. Because I lived out in BFE and we had about half a channel, and so we didn't get to see the old movies. I didn't get to see him as in Frankenstein until after I was an adult. Just because there were, although I had seen photographs, but I've never seen the movie, and I watch it at least once every year. It was great. Great performance, great movies, and I like him in many of his other performances too, with Vincent Price in. It had a couple of Edgar Allan Poe movies, like The Raven, which was actually a tongue-in-cheek story, and just for as a little aside, there in the movie of The Raven with Vincent Price and Boris Karloff, has a very, very young novice actor by the name of Jack Nicholson. Yes, he plays the son of Vincent Price. Boris Karloff's son. Yeah, he plays Boris Karloff's son. And if I remember that correctly, and it was a great performance all around. Boris Karloff, Tales of Mystery. That's what I've got for you this time. Please like, share, subscribe. If you have any friends who are Boris Karloff fans, share this with them, even if they're not into the comics, or if they just like horror or mystery stuff. Yes, share with them. And tell them Boris sent you. And remember, comics are art. Woo!